Somewhere in a factory in Fort Worth, Texas, workers are racing against a clock. They are trying to rebuild something America used to know how to make: a tiny, powerful rare earth magnet. That specific magnet goes inside the flight control systems of the F-35 fighter jet. It is the component that makes a $100 million warplane capable of flying. For decades, America forgot how to make these, and China remembered. In April 2025, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce imposed a strict licensing system for 7 rare earth elements. Shipments now require case-by-case approval. Almost immediately, reports circulated that the Pentagon had only weeks of certain rare earth inventories left. These elements sit inside virtually every advanced weapon the United States has ever built: the Tomahawk missiles, the Predator drones, Virginia-class submarines. If the flow of these materials slows down, the assembly lines for all of these systems grind to a halt. The entire technological advantage the United States has built its military supremacy on depends entirely on 17 obscure elements, and the supply of those elements is controlled by America's greatest geopolitical rival. It is easy to assume the United States simply lacks these minerals in the ground, but that is false. There are massive, rich rare earth deposits sitting right now within its own borders, from California to Texas. The problem is not scarcity. The problem is what happens after you dig them up. You can pull thousands of tons of rare earths out of a mountain, but without highly complex chemical processing, you are left with a pile of worthless rocks. The United States lost the capacity to finish the job. Today, China controls 98% of the global capacity to process these specific defense-critical elements. 40 years of deliberate economic policy created this dependency. While geologic luck put the minerals in American soil, the infrastructure to use them moved elsewhere. Rare earth processing has multiple stages: mining, crushing, separating the elements, reducing them to metal, and manufacturing the magnet. Separation is messy. It requires intensive acids and generates radioactive byproducts, making it incredibly expensive and politically difficult to maintain in Western countries. To understand why we do this, look at an element called dysprosium. It is added to the magnets inside F-35 flight control actuators to stop them from losing their magnetic strength at high temperatures. In a combat zone where engines and electronics run hot, a lack of dysprosium means the actuators degrade and the plane fails. In the 1990s, the United States actually processed these materials domestically, but as environmental regulations tightened, fines mounted, and operating costs spiked, American processing facilities shut down. Instead of fixing the domestic supply chain, Western defense manufacturers eagerly bought cheaper Chinese-processed components. They traded long-term strategic control for short-term cost savings. While America stepped back, China moved forward. In 1987, Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping made a remark that laid out their entire roadmap. He said, "The Middle East has oil, China has rare earths." Over the next 3 decades, Beijing heavily subsidized its processing industry. They operated at a massive loss, deliberately undercutting global prices by up to 80%. No Western company could compete, and China easily captured the global market share. This created a completely irrational system. The United States eventually reopened its largest rare earth mine in California, but because America lost the infrastructure to separate the minerals, the raw ore from that mine is shipped across the ocean to China to be turned into these finished powders. Congress received plenty of warnings. In 2010, China cut rare earth exports to Japan over a fission dispute, crippling their electronics manufacturing. By 2019, Pentagon reports identified hundreds of points of supply chain vulnerability tied directly to Chinese rare earths. The warnings were clear, and they were ignored. American lawmakers assumed trade relationships created mutual dependency, trusting the free market to solve a problem that China was treating as a weaponized industrial strategy. In late 2025, Beijing escalated the standoff. They announced that any company with an affiliation to a foreign military would be largely denied export licenses for rare earth permanent magnets. They targeted the finished product. The U.S. defense industrial base runs on just-in-time supply chains. Factories do not stockpile massive reserves of rare earth components, and when China slowed the flow of these magnets, American production lines felt the squeeze almost immediately. And this vulnerability extends straight into the civilian economy. Electric vehicles, wind turbines, grid-scale storage, your smartphone. The entire clean energy transition relies on the exact same Chinese processing network. The tariff conflicts of 2025 proved a harsh reality. When you build your nation's prosperity on a supply chain controlled by someone else, you do not actually control your own future. The United States and its allies are finally taking this seriously. Billions of dollars in public and private investments are flowing into diversification. New facilities are being built in Texas, and the Department of Defense has set a hard 2027 deadline to ban Chinese-origin rare earth magnets from U.S. platforms. But right now, American companies are celebrating the production of high-purity research samples. China has been operating at massive industrial scale for 20 years. The math is brutal. China spent 40 years building a global monopoly on processing infrastructure. The United States might have 4 years to replicate it before the next geopolitical conflict erupts. Which brings us back to the F-35. The $100 million fighter jet that taxpayers funded relies entirely on Chinese processing in its bones, in the magnets and actuators that allow it to fly. The United States built its global military advantage on technology it no longer independently produces. Prosperity and security now depend on a supply chain that America no longer controls.